It's time for Come and Talk It with your host, Michael Cargill, brought to you by Texas Law Shield. Over the last decade, Michael has championed and supported the rights of law-abiding Texans to own and use firearms. He is the owner of Central Texas Gun Works, a veteran of the United States Army, and has achieved national exposure in such prestigious media outlets such as Forbes Magazine, Fox Business News, CNN Money, AOL, BBC World News, Huffington Post, and the New York Times. Cargill vigorously defends lawful gun ownership in this country without regard to party politics. And now, here's Michael Cargill.
Good day, Austin, Texas, the live music capital of the world. Let's praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. All right, so, man, we got a lot to cover today. We have, there's a mass shooting in Texas. There's a shooting that happened in Sacramento, California. We have some breaking news coming out of Austin, Texas. Mayor Adler, that's right, Mayor Adler has tested positive for COVID-19. Man, coming out of Austin, Texas. What if he got that from Cabo? Did he go on vacation?
It was a lapse in judgment.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, should wear a mask. Social distancing.
2 masks.
That's right. What does it say on his Twitter page? This is a little thing he tweets all the time.
Wear a mask.
Wear a mask.
Right.
Was he wearing a mask?
He changed it to pray for Ukraine yet? Maybe.
No. I think he's stuck on wear a mask. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see. He says no. He says get vaccinated. That's what he says. Get vaccinated. So apparently, according to a tweet from Mayor Adler. A tweet from Mayor Adler says, I just tested positive for COVID after learning of an exposure. And thanks to the vaccine/booster, I have very mild, if any, symptoms. Diane is still negative. I'll work and isolate at home until negative and okayed by the doctors. So that's from Mayor Adler. The mayor of Austin, Texas, has tested positive for COVID. And so, I think everyone's wishing him well. Hope he doesn't have any heavy symptoms or anything like that. So we'll see as this progresses along. Also, coming out of Sacramento, California, 6 killed, 10 injured. After a mass shooting downtown in Sacramento and like clockwork, Gavin Newsom is blaming guns. That's right. He's blaming guns. Out of California, Zach, California has the strictest gun laws that we have here in the country, in the entire country. Where you can't have this, you can't have that. If you need a gun, it has to be on the list. They make it very difficult in California.
Wait, you mean that with all the gun control laws they have there was a shooting?
Yeah. You know what? One more time for the people in the back of the room. All you people that are back there in the back, I want to make sure you can hear this. Gun laws do not stop mass shootings. Period.
But Mike, they made a law. They passed a law. How did this person break that law?
Just in case you didn't know, if you're in the back of the room, you're all the way back there in the back of the bus, all the way in the back of the bus there. I want to make sure everyone can hear me. Gun laws do not stop mass shootings.
But they made a law, Mike.
Face pony soldier.
Period. That's it.
Who does it stop?
Well, I don't know.
People that follow laws.
You can't
right?
stop cray-cray.
Uh-huh.
Can't stop cray-cray. In other news, 2 teenagers are dead after a freak accident or negligence. Just negligence.
That's a rough one. One of them wasn't even a teenager yet. The one that
was shot in the back of the head?
responsible. No, she
the one
was 12.
She was 12 years old, not even a teenager. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. While playing with a gun on Instagram Live, the world's dumbest criminal, also a teenager, has been arrested after posing with guns and drugs on Instagram. California's SB 906 did not pass, meaning parents will not be required to disclose their gun ownership status to their children, to the children's school. And, of course, we can't forget the infamous Oscar slap. That's right. Was it staged? Is this a distraction from something bigger? Does the stand your ground law apply? And, man, this is sad for Chris Rock. It's sad for, what's the guy's name?
Will Smith.
Will Smith.
Sad for Jada.
It's sad for Jada.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Oh, man, I tell you. Honestly, I don't think it was staged. I think, Will Smith, he heard the joke. He laughed at the joke like everyone else in the crowd. Looked over at his wife. She gave him that death stare.
All right, Mike, tell me this. All right. Did you know that last year's Oscars had the worst ratings ever for Oscars?
So they needed something to happen, huh?
So they knew they needed something. And tell me this. Do you even know what movie Will Smith was nominated for Best Actor in? Can you name the movie?
It's the one about Venus, Serena, and Venus.
Can you name
the Serenas.
the movie?
I can't name the
You can't
movie,
even tell
but
me
I can't tell you the name of the movie. But I know it was about because I saw it. It's
Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
Yeah, I didn't even know the name of the movie before this incident.
Didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know either.
Yeah.
But I've seen it. I saw it.
You saw it before?
I saw it before.
Or after the slap?
No, I actually saw it before the slap. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, I can't recall the name of the movie at all. But I know it was all about the Williams sisters and the father, because I don't know his name, Mr. Williams, and their family, their story, and all that kind of stuff. He won an Oscar for that. Finally.
I didn't even know that he was in a movie.
Oh, well, now you know.
Maybe I'm just out of touch. But does anybody agree with me here?
And he accepted his Oscar. He won his Oscar. So we're going to talk about all that today. So 6 people killed, 10 injured in a mass shooting in downtown Sacramento. There's a shooting that took place in Dallas. Did you hear about that, Zach?
I heard about it about an hour ago.
Yeah. So that's some breaking news out of Dallas there. So we had 11 people who were shot in Dallas, 1 fatally at a concert in Dallas. And so at least 12 people were shot, 1 fatally, when a gun erupted at a concert in Dallas early Sunday. This happened today. 3 of the victims are juveniles, according to the Dallas Police Department. The episode occurred several hours before another mass shooting broke out in downtown Sacramento, which 6 people were killed and at least 10 others were injured. Dallas police said investigators are working to identify the suspects in the concert shooting, but no one had been taken into custody as of Sunday afternoon. So we're watching this story, see how it progresses there. Preliminary investigation determined that at the event, 1 individual fired a gun into the air. Then another unknown individual fired a gun in the crowd's direction. And the Dallas Police Department said, laid this out here in a statement. So the person killed was identified by police as a 26-year-old Keelan DeJohn Gilmore. And police said Gilmore was found lying near the stage with a gunshot wound to the head and was pronounced dead at the scene. And so, it doesn't matter whether it's Texas, doesn't matter if it's California, doesn't matter if your gun laws are the strictest in the nation in California, or you have, liberal gun laws, so to speak, in Texas. A mass shooting will happen no matter where you are. Are you prepared? Do you go to those places where those type of people hang out, or do you go to those places where someone is targeting someone else and you happen to be there in their way where they're trying to shoot someone else? Doesn't matter where you are. You have to be prepared. You have to be aware of your surroundings. You need to know your surroundings and what's going on around you and know your way out. Have that way out. We come back from the break. We're going to talk about Sacramento. We're going to talk about Dallas. Going to talk about a lot of things. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Peace, this is Maj Toure. You're listening to Come and Talk It Radio with Michael Cargill.
I'm a U.S. Army veteran with a strong sense of duty and respect for our system of government. After 12 years, I was honorably discharged and decided I would fulfill the American dream of entrepreneurship and open up a gun shop in Austin, Texas. At my shop, I teach people to be law-abiding and how to safely use their firearm. On page 46, we're going to talk about Penal Code Section 46.02. The day that ban went into effect, I went into my local ATF in Austin and turned over my bump stock because I'm a law-abiding citizen. But I wasn't going down without a legal fight. So that's why I reached out to NCLA.
NCLA is representing Michael Cargill because federal agencies do not have the power to rewrite statutes. Bump stocks are not machine guns. If Congress wants to change the law and ban bump stocks, it certainly can do so. But we can't have the executive branch rewriting a statute and putting people in jail for up to 10 years.
It's a problem because, this government agency has said, you know what, something that is legal is now illegal, and we're going to confiscate it from you, and we're not going to compensate you for it, and you're going to become a criminal.
The goal of our case here is to tell the ATF that they can't get away with this kind of administrative lawmaking. This isn't constitutionally permissible, and this goes against everything that our nation was founded on.
The bump stock ban turned innocent law-abiding citizens into criminals overnight, even though they were compliant with the statute. And that's not right.
This case is not about where you stand on bump stocks. It's about the rule of law. It's about whether an agency can rewrite a statute and turn a law-abiding citizen into a criminal. If the ATF can ban bump stocks, any agency can ban anything.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so we're back and we're talking about California. Let's go to California, where you had a mass shooting that took place in California. California is one of the states that has the strictest gun laws in the entire country. They ban a lot of different firearms. They actually put a list of firearms together that you can actually own in the state of California. They put heavy restrictions on rifles, AR-15s, AK-47s, where they have to do a lot of modifications to them in order to own them. So let's go to California. We have the strictest gun laws. Take a look at what happened here. For those people that are listening on the radio, driving on the interstate there in town, heavy fighting going on in Sacramento, California. Guys grabbed by the throat. And a lot of pushing, shoving, punching, hitting, and then all of a sudden shots are being fired where six people were killed, 10 were injured in a shooting that took place in downtown Sacramento after a night of people partying, typically on the Saturday night, early Sunday morning. And here's the press conference from the police chief of Sacramento. Take a listen to this.
We now have confirmed that we had 6 people killed in the area of 10th and K. An additional 10 people were transported or self-transported to area hospitals. So we are asking for the public's help in helping us to identify the suspects in this and provide any information that you can to help us solve this. Right now, our investigators are arriving on scene. And like I said, this is very, very preliminary, so we do not have, a lot of details to share. But again,
and so Governor Gavin Newsom called for an end of the scourge of gun violence after a mass shooting took place there. He says, and here's the statement from Governor Newsom. Sadly, we once again mourn the lives lost and for those injured in yet another horrendous act of gun violence. Newsom said in a statement Sunday, Jennifer and I send our heartfelt condolences to the family, friends, and to the wider community impacted by this terrible tragedy. What we do know at this point is that another mass casualty shooting has occurred, leaving families with lost loved ones, multiple individuals injured, and a community in grief. The scourge of gun violence continues to be a crisis in our country, and we must resolve to bring an end to this carnage, is according to what he said in his statement. And so our message to Governor Gavin Newsom is, you might want to start prosecuting some of these thugs and some of these criminals. The problem is, Gavin Newsom, this is my statement to you. Governor Gavin Newsom, I suggest you send a message to your district attorneys in that area and inform them that you need to start prosecuting some of these criminals and start having some of these lax, not having your grand juries not bring them up for consideration for prosecution or charges. So might want to start, thinking about that just a little bit. Let's start prosecuting some of these thugs and some of these criminals in that way, because it's the same people that are involved in other incidences that are getting involved in these shootings here, and you didn't prosecute them for the previous shooting, so they're doing another shooting. They're graduating. So instead of letting these thugs graduate to the next phase, how about you stop them in their tracks, and they won't have this repeat, signs of violence and innocent people getting shot while they're trying to enjoy themselves. That's my message to the governor there. Also, California. Oh man, I tell you, I don't know what it is about California. California won't require parents with guns to tell schools. Guess what? So check this out. Let's stay in Sacramento here, Sacramento, California. Even in California, home to some of the nation's strictest firearms laws, a bill requiring parents to tell school officials if they keep guns in the house went too far to move ahead in the legislature. So this bill here failed on Wednesday, and it's the first committee vote after facing opposition from the American Civil Liberties Union and the National Rifle Association. So basically, two groups rarely on the same page here, which is actually pretty funny, as well as two organizations representing a rank and file law enforcement officers. It pretty much died even after Democratic Senator Anthony Portanino promised to drastically aim this bill if it survived the committee vote. He and his supporters said it could help prevent mass shootings and other firearms tragedies, but only 2 of 7 members of the panel voted for it. And this comes on the heel of another mass shooting in California. So those go so far beyond, according to what the senator says. He says, hey, those go so far beyond my core beliefs in civil liberties that I just can't associate an aye vote, said Senator Dave Cortez, a fellow Democrat who has pushed for many criminal justice reforms. So the Senate Education Committee's Democratic chairwoman, Connie Levy, also opposed the measure. And she says, I believe a better approach is by addressing student mental health, according to what Levy says. This is an important issue, a critical important issue, but this bill is not the answer. So among its many restrictions, California limits the size of ammunition magazines to 10 bullets, outlaws firearms that fall into its definition of assault weapons. It imposes strict purchasing and waiting period requirements, and requires background checks for people buying ammunition. There are about a dozen gun laws pending in the legislature this year, according to the Gun Owners of California. Most notable, a measure that would let private citizens sue gun makers to stop them from selling so-called assault weapons. A related bill also attempts to make it easier for people to sue gun companies for liability in shooting that cause injuries or death. Now, another measure would require firearm dealers to have a digital video surveillance system on their business premises, while several bills would bar gun sales on government property. Man, I tell you. California. I don't even know what to say about California. A lot going on there. What do you think?
A lot of people leaving there.
Yeah, a lot of people leaving.
And coming to
Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I just hope they bring their guns with them, but they don't bring those ideas to Texas. Come on to Texas. Bring all your guns with you. Just leave those California ideas in California.
Yeah, they got some weird guns over there, though, that, they have regulated so hard. Like the bullet button that you have to have on there.
Yeah, I don't even try to comprehend their craziness.
You can't have a pistol grip on your rifle. You can't have a magazine that has more than 10 round capacity.
I think the next thing they should do is just have parents report swimming pools in their own backyards. have prescription drugs and, report having prescription drugs in your own medicine cabinet. Just telling yourself.
Yeah, there's certain things people need to do, like, don't let your kids get a hold of your guns.
Yeah, keep guns away from kids. That's right. That's the thing that you should do.
Mhm.
Right? Lock your guns up. Make sure your kids don't have access to your firearms, or other individuals, unauthorized individuals, have access to your firearms.
Mhm.
Either keep it on you or lock them. You can't hide guns from kids or crazy folks. You have to lock guns from kids or crazy folks.
Yep.
That's the only way to keep them from kids and crazy folks. Lock them. And it's funny because even in Austin, Texas, we have the majority of our shootings that we have in Austin are from people that are from Killeen and other places, not really from Austin.
They're just coming in to party for the weekend or
Coming
something?
in to party and committing like heinous crimes here in Austin, Texas, from other places.
Because they know that we've been defunded around here.
They know the DA's not going to prosecute.
DA won't prosecute.
DA's not going to prosecute you. Man, I could pop a cap. Now I'm not have to worry about the DA even coming at me and having the police arrest me. I tell you, crazy, insane. But that's where we are today. That's where we are. All right. So I also want to talk about, I want to talk about the Alex Jones. Talk about Alex Jones and the hefty fines for skipping Sandy Hook deposition. Talk about that. A Texas teen who posed with drugs, money, and guns and posted pics on Instagram. What in the world is with these idiots on Instagram? Now, why would you post guns and drugs on Instagram and think that that's okay? Can you just for like 2 seconds pretend that crap is illegal? Just for 2 seconds.
Don't advertise it on your own social media?
Duh. Like pretend for 2 seconds what you're doing is illegal. They just have no, I guess because they say, hey, I live in a very liberal city. I don't have to worry about the DA. The district attorney is not going to prosecute me, so I'm good to go. I can do whatever.
Are you stupid or something?
Very stupid. And also, want to talk about Texas teen who posed, Fort Campbell. Fort Campbell soldier charged with guns traced to Chicago shooting. That's a big story. That's going to be bad.
Guns are illegal in Chicago, too.
Yeah. And then I also want to talk about a little later in the hour there, Will Smith. Does the stand your ground law apply in the Will Smith case? I want to talk about that. But you know what? 2 teenagers are dead after a freak accident while playing with a gun on Instagram Live.
That's so sad.
It's sad.
There's a video of it. It was on Instagram Live. So there was a video of it
If you haven't seen this video, grab your phone, pull up your Facebook page, go to Comment Talk It on Facebook, go to Comment Talk It on YouTube, because when we come back from the break, we're going to play this video for you. It's only going to be on YouTube. It's only going to be on the link on Facebook. The actual video is not going to be there, but the link to it is going to be there. Take a look at this. What happens when you allow your children, access to firearms. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Hi, this is Stephen Williford, the Barefoot Defender. I get my global gun news from Michael Cargill at Come and Talk It.
Whether it's a typical traffic stop or you're just involved in a use of force incident, encounters with law enforcement can be scary and stressful. In the heat of the moment, you may inadvertently say something you don't mean or make an inconsistent statement. These are red flags for officers, and if they think you're lying or your story doesn't add up, they might arrest you and let the criminal justice system decide your fate. Police officers are trained to get information from you without making the interaction seem like a formal interrogation. But remember, from the moment an officer arrives on scene, everything you say and everything you do will be scrutinized in court. The prosecuting attorney will attempt to use anything and everything against you. So what do you say? You say, I invoke my right to remain silent, and then let your attorney interact with law enforcement on your behalf. One important note though, do not throw common sense out the window. For example, if the intruder's hiding somewhere in your house when the police arrive, Or if you saw the perpetrator pitch his weapon into your backyard, quickly tell the police and then stop talking. You might ask, what about my rights? What if the police never read me my Miranda rights? Miranda rights is the common name for a collection of rights contained in the Miranda warnings, given to suspects when they're placed under arrest. The warning comes from a 1966 Supreme Court case, Miranda v. Arizona. In that case, the court held that statements from a custodial interrogation would not be admissible unless proper procedural safeguards were in place to protect the defendant's Fifth Amendment rights. We've all seen these warnings on TV and movies. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to have an attorney. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, and so on. So do police have to read you your rights? No. It's important to note that officers are not required to read you these rights unless you're in custody and subjected to interrogation. If the police show up to a crime scene and start asking you general questions and you voluntarily tell them everything that happened.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so we're back. And so 2 teenagers are dead after a freak accident while playing with a gun on Instagram Live. So the world's dumbest criminals. Also, we're going to talk about a teenager who has been arrested after posing with guns and drugs on Instagram. We're going to talk about that. And also, we still have to talk about the California SB 906, the fact that it did not pass, meaning parents are not required to disclose their gun ownership status to their children's schools. We'll talk a little bit more about that, a little bit more. And, of course, the infamous Oscar slap. Was it staged?
They're both actors.
They're actors?
Yeah.
And you're saying the ratings were pretty low last year?
They were dismal last year.
Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
Yeah. Well, maybe he deserved it. Yeah, so is this going to open up the gate for people just to walk?
Getting slapped on stage?
Walk on stage and slap a comedian?
Yeah, it's people just getting offended and then thinking that they can do physical violence.
Just make it cool. They're going to have to punish him. They got to punish him. There needs to be some consequences. Because if there are no consequences, I think you're going to see a rash of people walking on stage and just slapping a comedian.
So he has
Don't
resigned
take the law in your own hands. You take them to court.
Yeah.
He's resigned from the academy. Will Smith has.
That's not consequences. So he resigned from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a punishment.
Yeah.
I resigned from my position that I wasn't even getting paid for, and I'm already rich.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning what? Nothing. No consequences. That's not a consequence.
You can just go slap somebody because he's offended.
I think the next I'm going to go to a comedy show and slap the comedian. I think next month I'm going to walk up and slap a comedian.
If they say a joke that you don't appreciate.
They say something about Central Texas Gunworks, I'm going there and just slap them.
Ooh.
What are you going to do? What are they going to do?
Yeah.
There's no consequences.
But what about the stand your ground law?
Hey, then I guess we'll duke it out.
What would the stand your ground law say if someone comes up and hits you in the face?
You can stand your ground. You have no duty to retreat. He was trying to kill me. I had to stop him. The funny thing about this is that the way that Chris Rock just stood there, it almost looked fake, because he literally sucked the manhood out of him. By just standing there and taking that slap and did nothing. Didn't defend himself. He just stood there and said, what did he say?
And Will Smith just turns around and walks away after that.
He casually walked up. He didn't even walk fast. He just casually walks up, and slaps him, and then turns around and walks back.
Yeah, if he slapped me, he better hope he would have been walking backwards.
He need to be defending himself, right? Like, oh, security. He didn't even call him for security. All right. Man, let's go to these teens. What city was this?
That was, wasn't it St. Louis?
Was it St. Louis? Yeah,
I think so.
Usually that's where all the, if it's not Chicago, then it's St. Louis where the dumb people are located.
Yeah, and that's sad.
People that
one of them wasn't even a teen yet. One of them was 12, the girl.
12 years old. This is what happens when it's called bad parenting.
Yeah,
your kids are dead because you're bad parents. You're terrible parents.
Yeah.
Don't call me. No phone calls. I don't want to hear it. You're terrible parents, and that's why these kids are dead.
So we're going to play that video?
Because you're talking kids that are constantly posting pictures of themselves of guns and drugs on Instagram, on social media, and you as a parent did nothing. That makes you the definition in Webster of a bad parent. So don't call me and tell me that, I'm being mean or cruel, because you're a terrible parent. Take a look at this video right here. Right. And just for those people that are listening, on the radio, so you have two teenagers, one female, one male in the bathroom. The female is holding a gun with her finger on the trigger. For those people that say that this was a suicide, it was not. She had her finger on the trigger. And she points the gun at her, this young man's back of his head. She pulls the trigger, is in shock the fact that the gun discharges. The gun falls to the ground. She falls to the ground. And then she picks up the gun because she had her finger on the trigger again with the gun pointed at her. She ends up squeezing and fires a shot and ends up killing herself as well.
And they're both gone.
And they're both gone. And then the fact that they fell in the bathroom against the door, the way they fell, they couldn't open the door to get into the restroom to start first aid. Sad situation. Because your kids were playing with firearms, and one was not even a teenager. You reap what you sow.
Yeah, and that looked like a Glock with a 50-round drum magazine on it.
Absolutely.
And that's a serious setup.
Yeah, no finger on the trigger. Finger on the trigger. Negligent. Not accident. This is negligent. You shouldn't have allowed your kids to have access to firearms. As parents, terrible parents. Terrible.
You mentioned earlier that Instagram account that let off the live stream, they
had multiple
allegedly
pictures. Had multiple pictures of these individuals with guns and drugs on Instagram. Rotten parents. Rotten to the core. And then they took the page down. So, hey, it is what it is. Don't call me. I don't want no phone calls, no messages, no emails, because you're just rotten parents. And that's what this is all about, parenting. Terrible parenting. And same thing in Austin. When you have teenagers drive to Austin, Texas and commit mass shootings in Austin, Texas. Same thing, parenting. Bad parenting. That's what it's all about. How do you not know, as a parent, as a mother and a father, you not know that your kid is not home at 2 o'clock in the morning? How do you not know this? Because you're a terrible parent. That's why. That's probably why I'm not anti-abortion.
No?
No, not at all. Like, boredom. Abort them all. If you can't handle them, abort them. Save us all some trouble. Don't call me. No emails. No messages. Just flush them down the toilet. Save us all some trouble. All right. Moving on. Let's see. What do we got? What else we got to talk about? We got to go to the Instagram. There's another idiot. Was this out of Houston? Yeah, I think this was out of Houston. Another idiot decided that he was going to post online, pictures of himself on with drugs and guns and thought it was okay. So here we are, Houston, Texas. Was it Houston? It says Bexar County. But photos posted on Instagram led police to two teenagers who had guns, a high-powered pistol, whatever that. I don't know what a high-powered pistol is. Yeah, it says. Yeah, it's a Houston story, but I think it's out of San Antonio, out of Bexar County. So they say a high-powered pistol. Not sure what that means. Cocaine, hash oil, marijuana, and thousands in cash, according to the Bexar County Sheriff's Department. So the sheriff's office said in a Facebook post that they were tipped off on Tuesday that David Anakin Guerrera, 17, was posting on social media to be in possession of THC cartridges, weapons, and cash. According to the Bexar County Sheriff's Office, the Covert Intel Street Crimes Unit began their investigation regarding the activity that was reportedly posted to Instagram. Didn't have to do any covert work because this idiot was doing it on Instagram for the world to see. His account was available for anyone to log on, have an Instagram account, and see his pictures of his drugs and his guns.
Why would you do that?
because he's an idiot. So both David and a passenger, Ezra, 21, were detained following the execution of a search warrant of their residence. And during the execution of the search warrant for their residence in the 8900 block of Raywood, deputies said they discovered 2 handguns, a so-called high-powered pistol.
All right, I think they're talking about an AR pistol.
So we're talking AR or AK pistol.
AR pistol.
So they call
like
that high-powered.
In the picture, he's got a Glock with a rail light and
almost
extended mag.
Almost looks like an SBR to me.
Maybe. I can't see the stock there.
Yeah, I can't see. All right, but we'll look at that. And so during the execution of the warrant, their residence, 8900 block of Raywood, deputies say they discovered 2 handguns, a high-powered pistol, and this is going to be the southwest side of San Antonio, south side, cocaine, hash oil, marijuana, and $15,000 in cash.
What's up with all these things happening on the south side?
South
in
side.
Dallas, that shooting was
South
at a rap concert in southeast Oak Cliff.
South side.
Yeah, and that's not an area you want to be hanging out in.
You don't like Oak Cliff? I like
You're
Oak Cliff.
familiar with Oak Cliff?
I'm familiar with Oak Cliff.
I actually did a little project with the Dallas Fire Department where we went and installed smoke detectors in homes in Oak Cliff.
And what happened?
The Oak Cliff Fair Park area.
Nice.
So, yeah, I went around with a fire truck and the fire department and basically replaced smoke detectors because people had these smoke detectors in their homes that were just ancient, not working. They had taken the batteries out, and there were a bunch of people that died in a house fire.
Oh,
so
man,
I had
that's
the
terrible.
opportunity to go inside these homes in this area. Let's just say one of these homes, I fell through the floor when I was walking because the subfloor was just rotted out.
Oh, no.
And then another home, I went to take the smoke detector, like twist it and open it up, and this giant spider just rushed out of it. This huge spider.
Probably brown recluse.
It was way too big to be one of those.
Was it really?
It was a spider
Oh,
that had
no.
a home in there.
He's like, look, dude, hey, you're in my house. What's up?
Yeah, some other people were like, no, you can't come in. They wouldn't even open the door.
They went over the door.
Yeah.
Sir, we're here to save you. We want to put a smoke detector so you don't burn down in your sleep. They're like, no, you can't come in.
Yeah,
I know my rights.
Yeah, that's a rough area. Yeah.
Oh, my God. I know my rights.
All these events happened in these rough areas.
Yeah, that's the hood. I like the hood. The south side, baby.
They all have one thing in common.
They're on the south side.
What else?
Oh, I don't know. You tell me.
No, you have to
No,
say.
sir. I'm about to say nothing. You tell me.
You have to say.
No, sir.
There's one link.
What's the link?
Between all these stories we're talking about today.
Zach, what's the link of all the stories we're talking about today?
You have to bring it up.
Excuse me, sir. I don't understand what you're saying. Why I gotta say? Why I gotta be the one? Why I have to be the one to receive hate mail all the time? They
You
always
still
have to,
get that?
yes. Why do you have to see me hate mail and emails and messages and phone calls and stuff like that? Why do I have to get the hate stuff?
You know what they say? You take the most flack when you're right above target.
Oh, what he's saying is they were all black. There you go. Now I said it. I said it. The truth hurts. And I don't want to hear nothing when I get to the house. When I get home, my sister, I don't want to hear my other half.
Shut your mouth.
I don't hear anything when I get to the house. No hate. Don't throw a pillow at me on my side of the bed. It is what it is.
You need to do some urban firearm education classes.
That's right. We come back from the break. We got more stories to talk to you about. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
This is Coleon Noir, and you're listening to Come and Talk It with Michael Cargill.
Hello, my name is Edwin Walker. I'm an independent program attorney with Texas Law Shield. I want to talk to you today about an issue that we see on a daily basis. In fact, you yourself will encounter it on a daily basis, and that is the subject of road rage. I am sure that you have all seen road rage. You may have actually been involved in a road rage incident. Now, if you're a responsible gun owner, I'm going to give you a few words of advice on how to react when you find yourself in one of these unfortunate road rage incidents. While on the roadways, we all observe something that makes us upset. Whether it's poor driving, unsafe driving, or just simply somebody being very discourteous. By all means, you should restrain yourself from engaging that person and telling them how bad their actions were, because this can be perceived as an act of road rage. If you're a lawful gun owner, you have a firearm in your vehicle, you do not want to be viewed as the aggressor in a road rage situation. Now, with regard to a situation where an individual has chosen to rage against you, and you are the actual victim of the road rage, if you and the other individuals are still in their automobiles, do not use your firearm to respond to any of the rager's activities. This is because law enforcement views the fact that you're both still safely in your metal boxes as removing any threat of immediacy that you may be harmed. So please, if you have a gun, somebody is raging against you, forget you have a gun. Don't display it, don't brandish it, don't show it, don't point it, and for God's sake, don't fire it. This could result in a lot of trouble for you. Now let's look at a situation where a road rage incident has escalated. It has escalated to the point where one of the participants has actually gotten out of their vehicle. We recommend that you stay in your vehicle at all times. Do not exit your vehicle, because the person who exits their vehicle is going to be looked at as the aggressor. If the other individual has exited their vehicle and they are not in contact with your vehicle and they do not have a weapon, then do not feel that you can display your weapon in an act of self-defense. People are allowed to just simply stand there and scream at you, scream whatever they want. Until they make a demonstrative effort to try to harm you, there is no immediate threat that would justify displaying or shooting or brandishing your firearm. Now, in the event that the person shows their own weapon, in particular a firearm, the existence of their weapon would give you reasonable belief that there was an...
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
Yeah, so all those stories there. No black folks involved. No black folks, not even behave yourselves. I'm just saying. That's right, I said it. Don't call me. Don't send no messages. Just need to behave yourselves. They're not playing out here. Gonna prosecute you. Gonna put you underneath the jail. Because you're not in Lubbock, Texas. You're not from Lubbock. You got to be from Lubbock to get away.
What the hell have we gotten into here?
You need to be from Lubbock to get away with the crime, people. Don't you know this?
Yeah, just have a judge for an ex-wife.
I tell you what. You know what, Zach? I'm going to go home tonight. I'm bleaching my skin. I'm going to marry me a judge, and that way I can get away with crimes.
You get away with murder.
I get away with murder. Allegedly. I'm telling you. That's right. So Kyle Carruth out of Lubbock, Texas. I don't know if you guys remember this story. So Kyle Carruth out of Lubbock, Texas. You had a guy goes to the business of Kyle Carruth in Lubbock, Texas, get into an argument with his ex-wife about his kid he's there to pick up. So he's trying to pick up his child, and he said he's supposed to pick up his kid at 3:15. I'm supposed to be here at 3:15 to get my kid. And where is he? I got the police heading over to your mama's house. I'm supposed to be here at 3:15 to pick up my kid. Where is my child? I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue Anne Marie. Anne Marie is the judge in Lubbock, Texas. You know Anne Marie? You know she lost her re-election, right? Yeah, she lost. That's right. This so sad, too bad, you know. But you know what? And I'm telling you, do you know a DA can indict a ham sandwich? That's right. A DA can indict a ham sandwich if they want to. They can choose to indict or not to indict. It's up to the grand jury. It's up to the grand jury to do this, decide this. So when you do this stuff, people, I always say this in the license to carry handgun course. When you pull the trigger on that gun, your life is in the hands of the jury. And if you're married to a judge, you bleach your skin, you can get off. Because this case is hilarious to me. Hilarious. Because the grand jury got it wrong in my eyes.
If I remember right, there was something that happened right after this incident occurred. A bunch of records of Kyle Caruth, the shooter, became
he wasn't a great guy.
Somehow.
So what? He was not a great guy. He was a convicted felon. So what? He was not a great guy, but he didn't have a gun. So that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he's a convicted felon. The fact that the guy's looking for his kid, he's supposed to pick up his kid at 3:15, so he says. And then all of a sudden, Kyle goes into the house, gets a rifle, comes outside, says, leave, get off my property. Clearly makes it about trespassing. You cannot shoot trespassers. And I would love to hear what evidence and what was said to the grand jury, because this has got to be the dumbest grand jury in the entire state, but it's Lubbock, Texas, so it's not surprising.
I went to school there.
Well, I'm so sad, too bad. You went to school with a bunch of dumb people.
What you saying about my alma mater?
All I'm saying is your alma mater is full of a bunch of dumb folks. Okay, they dumb. Okay?
Dumb folks?
Dumb folks. Dumb folks out there in Lubbock, Texas. Okay, all you folks out there in Lubbock, you're dumb. Just
I'm subpoenaing Ed Maurice on video. I'm very
Leave!
Do it right
You
now.
better use it, mother. God damn it, I'll take it from you.
Call the police. Call 911. Call 911. Call 911. Call 911.
warning shot. Can't do warning shots. Man.
Call 911.
Dead.
I
Gone.
have it on video, Kyle. You did it, not him.
I told all of y'all to leave.
Dead. Gone. Just like that. And the grand jury came back this week on April the 1st. I thought it was a joke. I came back, it's like, man, this has got to be April Fool's. This game was on April the 1st. I said, this is the April Fool's joke, folks. This can't be real. They came back, grand jury said, no charges filed. He didn't do anything wrong. Justifiable shooting. Wow. Warning shot? Really? It's about trespassing? He clearly says, I told y'all to leave. I told you to leave. He clearly makes about trespassing. His mindset was trespassing. His mindset was not, this person is trying to kill me. He didn't think that. That was not his thought. That's not the words that came out of his mouth. And you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. So the grand jury in this case definitely got it wrong. But hey, it's the stuff you guys eat out of the, little shrooms out there in Lubbock, Texas, out there. Stuff from the cows. That's all I got to say.
Under the cow patties?
And the cow patties.
But remember that this does not change any sort of precedent.
No, doesn't change anything.
It's all just a random
I'm telling you,
group
people,
of
don't do
grand jury.
this. You cannot shoot trespassers. So don't go home tonight and think because of this case here, you can get off.
Yeah, do you have a judge for a wife?
That's
Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah. So think about what you do.
Bleach your skin. You bleach your skin? Probably not. Don't email me. Don't call me. I don't want to hear it. Don't care. I'm just saying. It is what it is. All right. Just like in Austin, Texas, boy, I tell you, parents need to talk to their kids about these little black kids coming down to Austin, Texas and committing these mass shootings. It is what it is. You don't like it? It's not comfortable for you? Then I suggest you do parenting and talk to your children. Same thing. Same case. Our problems here in Austin, Texas, these kids coming from Killeen, Texas, coming from Houston, and they're all black kids, teenagers, that are committing these crimes. It's to the fact that your door guys and your door guys are only searching black teenagers for guns now. That's the mindset that you've set, the precedent you've set for Austin, Texas. And if you don't like it, it's not comfortable for you. The truth hurts. Sorry, I call it like I see it. Yeah, I know. I'm racist. I don't like black folks. Oops. I'm talking about Lubbock, Texas. I don't like white folks. Yes, I know. Michael is so mean.
Do you like anybody?
I don't like anybody. Michael is so mean. Michael is so cruel. He hates whites. He hates blacks. Blah, 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 blah. I called it like I see it. Yes, I'm racist. Blah, 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 blah.
Sounds like you just hate stupid people.
I just hate dummies. Exactly. And bad juries.
You just hate dumb folks.
Dumb folks and bad juries. That's right. I called it like I see it. Oh, well. Don't call me. Please don't call me. Please don't email me. No messages on social media. No messages on Twitter. No messages on Facebook, because I don't care. I'm just going to use profanity and send a message back to you. That's all. I'll wait till I have a couple drinks and then send you a message back. That's what I love the best. All right. And when I get home tonight, I don't want to hear about this later on the sheets. It is what it is. My other half, we we have these arguments about, the radio show and the topics that I talk about. It makes for a great relationship.
Very fiery, I bet.
Fiery relationship.
A lot of passion. Whoa.
Woo! That's a lot of passion right there. That's a lot of passion. All right. So what else we got to talk about? Because I'm in so much trouble right now. Okay, speaking of trouble, let's get in some more trouble. Let's go deeper. Let's dig this hole. Alex Jones, let's talk about that. I was told I shouldn't.
In trouble.
I know. I was like, dude, don't talk about Alex Jones. I know. Don't talk about this. Well, Alex Jones faces hefty fines for skipping Sandy Hook deposition there. So a Connecticut judge on Wednesday said InfoWars host and conspiracy theorist Alex Jones will be fined $25,000 to $50,000 per weekday until he appears for a deposition in a lawsuit brought by relatives of some victims of the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting. Jones's testimony is being sought ahead of a trial to determine how much he should pay in damages to the families for pushing a conspiracy theory that the massacre never happened. And I tell you, this is probably the one situation where Alex Jones got it wrong. But I'm telling you, the majority of the things that I hear that Alex Jones talks about, he gets it right.
Mm-hmm.
He's dead right, spot on. So in one situation, he's wrong here. In this particular situation here in Sandy Hook. But everything else, he's spot on. Man, he says some stuff. It's like, wow. And you look it up, you're like, oh my goodness, Alex was right.
He had on this guy named Wolfgang Halbig. And basically this guy, and he was, I can't remember exactly what kind of expert he was, but basically all he had was this list of like 17 questions about this shooting that were unanswered or just purposely obfuscated. And a big part of this lawsuit is him giving this guy a platform, basically. And that's kind of how it started. If I remember correctly, it was a while back. But this guy just had these questions about the incident. And yeah, now he's in a lot of trouble with fine from $25,000 to $50,000 per weekday that he doesn't show up for this deposition.
Well, we'll see what happens, because they're serious about this. They're like, hey, you need to show up to court. But like I said, Alex is he's always been right in all the other situations. They call him conspiracy theorists, but you know what? He's usually right. 90% of the time, Alex is right. And so this one time, happens to cost him. It's going to cost him a lot of money here. All right, we come back from the break. I want to talk about Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Soldiers were charged after guns traced back to Chicago. That's right, all the way back to Chicago. And also, I want to talk about guns in bars in Austin, Texas. Austin. And, I've been going back and forth with people on Twitter and, on Facebook and stuff like that. They're so dumb. You know what? Why do you argue with me, people? You need to learn what the Texas gun laws are. Get yourself a Texas gun law book, open it up, put your face in it and fall asleep, because you need to learn what the laws are, because guns are legal in majority of bars in Austin, Texas. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Peace, this is Maj Toure. You're listening to Come and Talk It Radio with Michael Cargill. I'm a U.S. Army veteran with a strong sense of duty and respect for our system of government.
after 12 years, I was only discharged and decided I would fulfill the American dream of entrepreneurship and open up a gun shop in Austin, Texas. At my shop, I teach people to be law-abiding and how to safely use their firearm. On page 46, going to talk about Penal Code Section 46.02. The day that ban went into effect, I went into my local ATF in Austin and turned over my bump stock because I'm a law-abiding citizen. But I wasn't going down without a legal fight. So that's why I reached out to NCLA.
NCLA is representing Michael Cargill because federal agencies do not have the power to rewrite statutes. Bump stocks are not machine guns. If Congress wants to change the law and ban bump stocks, it certainly can do so. But we can't have the executive branch rewriting a statute and putting people in jail for up to 10 years.
It's a problem because, this government agency has said, you know what, something that is legal is now illegal, and we're going to confiscate it from you, and we're not going to compensate you for it, and you're going to become a criminal.
The goal of our case here is to tell the ATF that they can't get away with this kind of administrative lawmaking. This isn't constitutionally permissible, and this goes against everything that our nation was founded on.
The bump stock ban turned innocent law-abiding citizens into criminals overnight, even though they were compliant with the statute. And that's not right.
This case is not about where you stand on bump stocks. It's about the rule of law. It's about whether an agency can rewrite a statute and turn a law-abiding citizen into a criminal. If the ATF can ban bump stocks, any agency can ban anything.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so man, I'll tell you that freak accident in Missouri there, that's just crazy to me. I'm telling you, I try to stress this in the License to Carry handgun courses that you can't hide guns from kids. You have to lock guns from kids. When you buy firearms, you're going to have them inside the home. You need to lock them. And as parents, as part of parenting, you need to, try to be on what's going on with your children, with your kids. That's part of being a parent. That's your job. If you can't do that, then you need to be the responsible person, don't have a child. If you can't parent that child, don't have them. Because, then you wind up with things like this. And honestly, I'm sorry. I just don't feel sorry for the family. I have no sympathy whatsoever. None. Zero, zilch. Zach?
I mean, I have sympathy for these two kids. The 12-year-old, it's like, ooh, that's so young. The parents needed to have.
I'm numb.
Yeah.
Numb.
I was talking to Erman, and basically he said that if he was the judge and those two parents came before him, basically he would say, I don't need to do anything. I don't need to sentence you to anything. You're already living in hell right now.
Nah, numb. They need to make an example out of him.
Mm-hmm.
Put him in jail. I'm numb. No sympathy. All right, so it's a sad situation. We're talking about two teenagers that are dead after a freak accident while playing with a gun on Instagram Live for the world to see.
Mm-hmm.
Thousands of people were watching this Instagram Live video when they were playing with guns in a bathroom, a very small bathroom, and the young lady pulled the gun out, had the gun in her hand with her finger on the trigger, pointed at the teenager's head, and accidentally pulled the trigger, shot him in the head, dropped him, killed him. She falls to the ground in shock, picks up the gun, and accidentally shoots herself in the head.
I'm curious about this Instagram account and how it had thousands of Instagram live people watching it.
Yeah. Because he sells guns. Not sells, but he's promoting guns and drugs.
Did you get to see the Instagram page before it was taken down, or
Yes.
see screenshots of it?
I didn't get screenshots of it, but I saw it.
You saw it though?
Yes, before it was taken down. I wish I would have got. I'm kicking myself for not getting screenshots.
So it was drugs and guns?
Drugs and
Kind of
guns.
like this the San Antonio
Drugs and guns.
fellow.
It's like, hey, this is what we do. Yo, this is cool. And this is what happened. FAFO.
Mhm.
FAFO.
If you got kids in the house, you can't hide your gun. You tell a story in the firearms safety course about a child that has access to a gun because the parent doesn't think that they can reach up that high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, the dad actually makes it a habit to come home every single day, and the dad would put his gun in the cabinet above the refrigerator. And so this one particular day, the dad did this, put the gun in the cabinet above the refrigerator. He walked away. The kid saw this, waited for the dad to leave. The kid grabs a chair, pushes the chair along against the counter, climbs onto the chair, climbs onto the counter, climbs up into the refrigerator, gets into the cabinet, pulls out the gun, shoots and kills himself on accident. You can't hide guns from kids. You have to lock guns from kids. And you need to monitor your kids' social media platforms. You got to. You're buying them the cell phone. And you're buying them the cell phone. You're giving them access to this. You have to monitor that. Set yourself up so you can monitor what's going on. Because then, because this is what could happen when you're not being a good parent. And that's what this is. You're not being a good parent. So sad,
Bad
too bad.
parenting.
So sad, too bad. Yeah. All right, so also I want to talk about the Fort Campbell, Kentucky. So over in Fort Campbell, 3 Fort Campbell soldiers, not 1, not 2, but 3 soldiers. Now, let's lay this story out here. So federal authorities issued new indictments against 3 Fort Campbell soldiers, adding 9 new defendants in the connection with an illegal gun pipeline to Chicago. At the firearms found at a mass shooting scene in Chicago were traced to Middle Tennessee purchases. The Nashville U.S. Attorney's Office announced this. So, according to the Nashville U.S. Attorney's Office, DeMarcus Adams, who is 21, Jarius Brunson, 22, Brandon Miller, 22, all enlisted members of the U.S. Army stationed in Clarksville, face multiple federal charges in the case. 8 of the additional defendants live in Chicago, while the 9th is from Davenport, Iowa. Guns traced to the group have been connected with multiple shootings, including a 2021 attack that left 1 person dead and multiple others wounded in Chicago's southwest side. And 2 people allegedly to be part of the gun-running outfit died as a result of gang violence facilitated by firearms illegally moved to Chicago. Now, all 3 soldiers were initially arrested in May of 2021 by ATF agents and agents of the U.S. Army Criminal Investigation Division, according to the acting U.S. Attorney Mary Jane Stewart for the Middle District of Tennessee there. The new indictments were issued Wednesday. And so each soldier and the 9 other men are charged with transferring a firearm to an out-of-state resident, making false statements during the purchase of a firearm, engaging in the business without a firearm license, wire fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit Title 18 offenses, according to a criminal complaint. The U.S. Attorney Office for the Northern District of Illinois will handle the initial court hearings for all defendants before they are transferred to Tennessee for future hearings. Investigation of the firearms began in March of 2021 when Chicago police responded to the mass shooting. And the shooting took place on the 2500 block of 79th Street, according to the court documents there. Now, multiple firearms are recovered from the shooting scene, and 5 of the firearms were found to have been recently purchased from federal firearms licensed dealers in Clarksville. Further investigations, the complaint continues, identifying Adams, Bronson, and Miller as the majority purchasers of these firearms. And what we're talking about here, we're talking about straw purchases. When you walk into a gun store, you buy a firearm, and then you're knowingly going to transfer that firearm to someone that is not supposed to have it, can't take possession of it. We call that a straw purchase. You're buying a gun for someone else. You're buying a gun, you give it to someone else, knowing that person can't take possession of it. That's a straw purchase, and that is a felony. So after the firearms were purchased, Miller would provide them to people he was associated with in Chicago. And investigators claimed that in the criminal complaint that a federal search warrant was executed at the Clarksville home of Miller and Adams. There are 49 empty firearm cases were discovered. Many of them matched the firearms recovered by the Chicago Police Department at the scenes of recent shootings and homicides. And the government asked the court to detain Miller pending a further detention hearing, which a magistrate judge approved. The hearing has been set for Friday. Adams and Bronson were released to the custody of their units and must remain on Fort Campbell, Kentucky, as well as avoid excessive alcohol and firearms. So, and this is crazy. It's a crazy case. You know, you're talking about people that are young, that are not aware of what the system is and how the system works, and they're getting caught up in the system, thinking that they're being slick, and then it catches up to them. You know, I think they would have been fine if the guns had been used in a crime. Once the guns were recovered in a crime, there's a trace. A trace. Here's how the trace works. So there's a gun used in a crime. The law enforcement agency is going to contact the manufacturer of that firearm and say, hey, who'd you sell this firearm to? The manufacturer is going to say, hey, I sold this firearm to this distributor. The distributor is going to say, hey, I sold this firearm to this gun store. The gun store is going to say, hey, we transfer this firearm to this individual here, and here's all the information, the 4473, the firearms transaction record for the firearm. And so they're going to go to that person and say, hey, what happened to this gun? And then that's how they find out that this person walked into a gun store, a federal firearms licensed dealer. They purchased a firearm and then sold it to someone in another state in Chicago from Tennessee illegally. And they committed a crime with it and is recovered. So straw purchase, felony, and they racked up the charges. And that's how it happens. Yeah. So, you're young, not sure how the system works. Now you know. They got learned. We come back from the break. I want to talk about guns and bars in Texas, the dangerous street in Austin, 6th Street. How do we get to this point where we are today? Let's talk about, we talked about last week the mass shooting. We talked about how that shooting was linked to the person that committed that shooting was possibly linked to other shootings, and DAs in other cities and DA in Austin could have stopped the mass shooting that we had in Texas, but they didn't prosecute this individual. But we're going to talk about different aspects of it. Going to get into the details of the bars. Finally, a reporter gets it right. Finally, a reporter does a story on the bars. TABC talks about COVID-19 and TABC and talks about how COVID-19 affects guns in bars. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Folks, this is Doug Man Jones. And I get my gun news from Michael Cargill at Come and Talk It.
Whether it's a typical traffic stop or you're just involved in a use of force incident, encounters with law enforcement can be scary and stressful. In the heat of the moment, you may inadvertently say something you don't mean or make an inconsistent statement. These are red flags for officers, and if they think you're lying or your story doesn't add up, they might arrest you and let the criminal justice system decide your fate. Police officers are trained to get information from you, without making the interaction seem like a formal interrogation. But remember, from the moment an officer arrives on scene, everything you say and everything you do will be scrutinized in court. The prosecuting attorney will attempt to use anything and everything against you. So what do you say? You say, I invoke my right to remain silent, and then let your attorney interact with law enforcement on your behalf. One important note though, do not throw common sense out the window. For example, if the intruder's hiding somewhere in your house when the police arrive, or if you saw the perpetrator pitch his weapon into your backyard, quickly tell the police and then stop talking. You might ask, what about my rights? What if the police never read me my Miranda rights? Miranda rights is the common name for a collection of rights contained in the Miranda warnings, given to suspects when they're placed under arrest. The warning comes from a 1966 Supreme Court case, Miranda v. Arizona. In that case, the court held that statements from a custodial interrogation would not be admissible unless proper procedural safeguards were in place to protect the defendant's Fifth Amendment rights. We've all seen these warnings on TV and movies. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to have an attorney. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, and so on. So do police have to read you your rights? No. It's important to note that officers are not required to read you these rights unless you're in custody and subjected to interrogation. If the police show up to a crime scene and start asking you general questions and you voluntarily tell them everything that happened, those statements can be used against you regardless of the Miranda warnings because you're not in custody. If you're put in handcuffs but you say something incriminating on your own without being questioned, those statements can and will be used against you because you're not being interrogated. You're just starting to spout off. This is why it's imperative that you know your rights and you shouldn't rely on the police to read them to you. Affirmatively invoke your rights. Say, I'm invoking my right to remain silent and my right to my attorney. Once you do that, the police legally shouldn't continue questioning you without your attorney present. But remember, there's a second part to this equation. After invoking your rights, you must exercise those rights. That means you have to keep your mouth closed. Protect yourself. Don't let the legal system take advantage of you after an incident. And Law Shield members, if you've been involved in a self-defense incident, remember to call the emergency hotline and speak with your independent program attorney.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, let's talk about Russia. Russia and what's that country?
Ukraine.
Russia and Ukraine. Let's talk about that. What in the world, honestly, I was stationed I was in the United States Army, and I was stationed in Bosnia. When I was stationed in Bosnia, I had the opportunity to actually spend time with a Russian military unit in Bosnia. I had a chance to, go on their base and actually, eat with them and stay with them, spend time with them and all that stuff. And this was back in the 90s. And I realized back then in the 90s, I was like, man, there's no way that if we ever got into a conflict with Russia, there's no way that Russia would ever defeat us. Because the one thing I noticed, when I went to their military base, in Bosnia, and when they had their mealtime, Zach, they actually had a scale in the cafeteria with a plate on the scale, and they would weigh the food before you could take it and go sit down and eat it. It couldn't weigh over a certain amount of kilograms or pounds or whatever it was. It couldn't weigh over a certain weight.
It limited your food intake?
Very limited. Very, very much so.
And to keep you lean.
Or it was the issue of them, their resources. And so we brought their soldiers over to our base and sat down and had a meal with them. They were just in hog heaven because it was just a smorgasbord. It was like, a free-for-all. They was like, oh, my God, you guys have all this food. It's like they were just in hog heaven. They stuffed themselves. It was totally different when we sat down and ate with them and their chow time. And I realized at that moment in time, I was like, man, their resources are not like ours. And their morale is not like ours. So here you are. Russia is in a conflict with, what's the name of the country?
Ukraine or Ukraine?
Ukraine.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
In a conflict with Ukraine. And so, and the Ukraine's, their morale is high. Ukraine's like, kill them all. Kill everybody. Let God sort them out. But Russia, like, hey, the Russian soldiers are like, hey, is this a war that, we shouldn't be in? Their morale is actually pretty low on the Russian side, and that's affecting the Russian soldiers.
Yeah, I saw a story about Ukrainian people feeding the Russian soldiers, and they poison their food.
You gotta love them. I love Ukraine. You gotta love it. Hey, this is because you're talking about a group of people. This is about their homeland. They're defending their homeland. What will we do if someone did that in the United States? We would do the same thing. We defend our homeland to our last dying breath. So.
Yeah, don't come over here.
Don't try it. He gonna get learned.
Don't come over here. Don't write us letters.
That's right. Don't write us letters.
Don't send troops.
No phone calls. No troops. Don't jump them in. Don't fly. No missiles. Because I'm telling you now, we're gonna come to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's just no way I can see Russia succeeding in this conflict, and we're seeing that it's a morale issue. And the fact that Russia can take over, what's the name of this country? Ukraine could take over Ukraine in at least a week. That says a lot about Russia, who's supposed to be a superpower.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that, and keep this in mind, do you know when the United States, invaded Iraq, do you know we did that in 100 hours?
Yeah, I thought it was like 3 days or something.
100 hours. We invaded Iraq in 100. When we invaded a country, we go in, boom. We let them know. I'm your daddy. Mm-hmm. Okay, you gonna learn today. I'm your daddy now. Mm-hmm. Okay, you will bow. You will bend the knee. Okay, and that's what happened. But the fact that Russia could not do this, man, says a lot. They're not as big as superpower. That means their equipment and the morale is not as high as the American troops.
Mm-hmm.
That says a lot. So I have no fear of Russia. Bring it. We can take on Russia.
Yeah, speaking of taking on Russia, we covered a story last week about the ATF writing an open letter to force reset trigger manufacturers and owners.
Yes.
And now this week, a bunch of U.S. Reps and Congress people have written a letter to the ATF, basically asking them, hey, what is going on here? You better quit this.
What did the letter say? Do you have the letter?
I don't have it. It's in our notes, but it was basically they demanded that the ATF turn over all of their reasoning and logic for what they're trying to do.
All right. So you had a bunch of members of Congress on March the 11th write a letter to Honorable Merrick Garland, who's the head of the Department of Justice, and also Honorable Marvin Richardson, who's head of the ATF, acting director, of the ATF, said, hey, we write to express our grave concern over the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, the ATF, continued pattern of enforcing secret guidance, is what they say. This secret guidance was brought to our attention by those who have received recent threatening letters where the ATF makes blanket threats based on the recipient allegedly purchasing and possessing various firearms, accessories, none of which are illegal based on any statute or regulation. These letters are in addition to an internal ATF emailing ordering seizure of various items and referring to those in possession of as defendants. And we find this pattern of secret regulation incredibly troubling. That's some serious stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's from a bunch of members of Congress. You're talking, who are these people? We have, and I don't know the names actually. They signed their name. They didn't print their
signatures, except for Ben Sass.
Yeah.
Could read that one.
Yeah, Ben Sass, I can see that one. I can see Chuck someone. John Barrasso, it's hard to read these signatures. They didn't print their names. They just did their signatures. Mm-hmm. No one that I know of. I don't see anyone from Texas.
Ted Cruz, I think.
Is it?
I believe so.
I don't see it.
I believe so.
I don't see it. Mm-hmm. Unless it's that last one there at the very bottom of the bottom right, which you can't really understand. That could be it. That could be Ted. Not sure. All right, so yeah, it's troubling. And I'm glad members of Congress are bringing this to their attention. That, hey, Congress writes law is basically what they're saying. We create law as Congress, as the House of Representatives, as the U.S. Senate. We create law not the Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and not the Department of Justice. Your job is to interpret what we write, not to create that law. So we're saying, hey, we didn't create this. We didn't write this. This is not what it says in the law. You're actually, you're going way far and beyond of what we're saying here. So we'll have to, stay tuned to that and see what happens there. Let's go to real quickly. Let's talk about Austin, Texas. There's a video in Austin, Texas, a news story in Austin, Texas with KXAN where they're talking about guns and bars. I want you to take a look at this video real quick here. Guns and bars.
As the community searches for answers about how to keep guns off of 6th Street, a gun shop owner fears lax firearms regulations at bars in the entertainment district may contribute to this problem.
Michael Cargill raised these concerns after 4 people were shot on East 6th Street around closing time earlier this month. KXAN's Brianna Hollis looked throughout the TABC documents, and she found only 11 bars on East 6th Street are required by state law to post signs prohibiting firearms.
This is a 51% sign. It's the only no guns allowed sign required by Texas law to be outside of a bar. A business has to post it if it makes at least 51% of its revenue on alcohol for on-site consumption.
Because of COVID-19, you had some bars that were able to change their liquor license from a bar 51% to a restaurant, which means when you do that, you change your gun status. When they become a restaurant, that means all, guns are legal.
According to this spreadsheet from TABC, only 11 bars on East 6th between I-35 and Congress have to post the 51% sign. This report states 35 bars on that stretch applied for a food and beverage license in 2020, classifying them as restaurants.
As it doesn't change the landscape as far as where handguns can be allowed. It simply changes the requirements for the owners of those handguns, what they need to do before they can carry their handgun.
We walked up and down this stretch.
All right, so, and what we're saying in that story there, she walks up and down 6th Street. This is a party district in Austin, Texas, where a lot of people come to Texas. It's no longer kept secret there, and they come to party and go to all the different bars between Interstate 35 and Congress. And out of that section there, the majority of the bars, you can actually take a gun inside. So let's say, the 11 bars that are in that section there who are actually 51%. It's a felony to take a gun inside those 11 bars. You cannot take any guns. You cannot take a knife over 5 1/2 inches. But in the rest of those bars, the 35 rest of those bars in that section there of town, you can take a gun inside. So let's say I have a license to carry a handgun. I have my license. What people are forgetting, the Texas legislature passed way back in 2019, they passed a bill that said that, hey, if there's a sign posted, a 30.06 sign or a 30.07 sign that says that, you can't bring a gun inside. If you don't see the sign, you don't notice it, you can, they have to tell you verbally. So if I do a good job of concealing my handgun, I can take my gun inside and they won't say anything to me. If they do say something to me, then I have to leave. But if I do a good job of concealing it, then I'm good if I have a license. Also, you forget, in 2021, the Texas legislature passed a bill that said that, hey, as a license holder, you could be 0.08 and be in, and have that amount of alcohol in your system, and you can carry a gun. Got to remember these things. If you don't know the law, I suggest you take a class. As always, more guns equals less crime. You go out there and you buy yourself a gun. You've been listening to Come and Talk It with Michael Cargill.